Well, since his death, people around the world have been learning more about Apple co-founder Steve Jobs. Turns out the FBI conducted a background check on Jobs in 1991. Bloomberg's chief Washington correspondent Peter Cook has more on Steve Jobs' FBI file, which was released today. And Peter, first off, why did Jobs have an FBI file in the first place, and why was it released?
Well, first of all, it was released today because of a Freedom of Information Act request that was filed at the time of his death last fall. And Mark, as you said, the big reason he had an FBI file was because he had an FBI background check because he was up for a job back in 1991. He's being considered for appointment to President George H.W. Bush's Export Council at the time. And anyone who's up for a job like that gets vetted by the FBI, and that's what happened to Steve Jobs. He not only had an FBI interview speaking to FBI agents who he confirmed his earlier drug use, also confirmed that he wasn't a communist. But people who knew Jobs well also spoke to FBI agents at that time, and some of them were fans of his. Some of them clearly were not. Remember, back in 1991, he had left Apple under a cloud, was running Next. The names of those interviews were redacted by the FBI. But here's what some of the people had to say. We'll call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the good. An FBI agent spoke to two former Apple colleagues. They stated that Steve Jobs, is strong-willed, stubborn, hardworking, and driven, which they believe is why he's so successful. They further stated, however, that Mr. Jobs possesses integrity as long as he gets his way. Now, here's the bad. The FBI described a conversation with another unidentified Jobs acquaintance who took a dig at Jobs and at Washington. Even though he does not consider Mr. Jobs to be a friend, this person said Mr. Jobs, possesses the qualities to assume a high-level political position. It was this person's opinion that honesty and integrity are not required to hold such a position. So a ding at Washington there. And here's the ugly. Another acquaintance of Jobs interviewed by the FBI, clearly no fan. He characterized Mr. Jobs as a deceptive individual, the FBI wrote, who is not completely forthright and honest. He stated that Mr. Jobs will twist the truth and distort reality in order to achieve his goal. Now, that mixed picture of Jobs consistent throughout this 191-page file. Mark, he did end up joining that Export Council, and as we all know, he went on to even bigger business success after that.
Well, Peter, any other highlights in the file beyond that background check?
Well, the file we now know was actually opened in 1985 when Jobs and Apple were the target of bomb threats at the time. An unidentified male caller threatened to detonate 4 bombs back then if he wasn't paid $1 million. We learn as well that Jobs had a top secret security clearance from 1988 to 1990. We don't know exactly why. And his GPA mark in high school, 2.65. Maybe that's going to inspire some struggling high school students that they too can go on to be as successful and as wealthy as Steve Jobs.
Chief Washington correspondent Peter Cook. Peter, thanks.